What's poppin', yo? Welcome back to another YouTube video. Today we're taking a look at something which I think we need to talk about here on the channel, given that we have taken a look at so much Turtle news. It is the fourth Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle live action from the 1990s, and it is The Foot Walks Again. It was a potential fourth Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle live action film, which was to be produced by New Line Cinema, but was never filmed. Instead, it was remained as a few scripts written between 1995 and 1997 with various character concept art. So here is Kirby, the fifth turtle. This was drawn by Kirby, and that was the nickname he was given. And he has been used in Turtle media before, but here he is, and he looks like an absolute fucking menace. He's got scars or what seems to be tiger skin, and he has a sword with a couple of spikes on it. It looks like a cutlass, and he looks like a pirate. He looks like the long-lost turtle, and he has like this black or a pink bandana. And I think he was sort of turned into Raph's pet turtle in the 2012 animated series and was reused as like Scar, I think he was called. But here he is as like a cyborg who came from the future with like a robotic arm and robotic limbs. So much detail went into this character concept, as you can see with each little section that comes off him here. And the plot of this film was supposed to be that each of the turtles did get a second mutation because the mutagen in their blood mutated them again and kept evolving them as they got older. So this was going to be them, instead of teenagers, maybe more of adults and going into adulthood, going through puberty, and the mutagen affected them once more, turning them into pretty scary looking creatures. And each one has its own new power, and I would like to see how they would have done that given the time of the 1990s and the limited technology they had for these films. CGI was just up and coming, so I do understand that they wanted to go for something more elaborate and more over the top, just to see what they could have done with CGI, try and push it to the limits, like what most Turtle films do. They always push CGI to the limits, but here is Michelangelo, and he was more able to turn human-like. He evolved and could shapeshift into like a human, so he could walk among them, and that's why they gave him this sort of character design with the jeans shirt and sort of flannel thing on his head there, just so he could walk in the people and interact with them more freely and just be like a normal person. I don't really like why they did that with Michelangelo, but he was sort of the one that always wanted to go to the surface and be around the people. He was the funny, cool one, and I guess his personality fits with making friends from the surface more than any other turtle. But I don't know, this power seems like the lamest one compared to the rest of them. He can just turn more human-like and just walk among the people of New York pretty freely compared to the rest of them. I think it's a pretty weak mutation, especially for my favorite character. I don't know, it just seems pretty shit. I think they ran out of ideas for what to do with Mikey because of just how his personality is. It's hard to adapt that into turning it into a new power or a new sort of evolution. I think Donatello's is the coolest. He has like telepathic powers and technologically advanced powers. Like, he's a telepath and can communicate with people, and he can sort of talk with computers and move stuff with his mind. And he's got a lot of gadgets here on him, and he's got a techie bow staff which he created. So it's more metal and has like electric ends and can extend and shrink. Kind of what they did with Donatello in the newer movies. From 2014 onwards, this is kind of what they did with Donnie. So it's nice to see that this idea was never truly scrapped and was always in like the back of their minds with how to take Donatello forward, making him have poorer eyesight, giving him these tech goggles, and have all this technological advancements on his shell, on his suit. So it's nice to see that they were thinking about Donatello back all the way from like 2019, and they did finally implement it in 2014 in the new sort of way with just normal glasses and just a big massive tech machine on his shell. I just think that's quite cool to take a look at and to talk about. It would have just been, I don't know how they would have done it in this current film. I do know they were moving more towards animatronic based suits, so the mouth could move more. Leo has a really cool power. He's still the leader, and he can make his skin turn chrome. Like, he can turn his skin into metal, so he's, like, more indestructible. And I quite like that. Him being the leader, having indestructible skin, I don't know. It just seems really cool. It sort of matches his weapon of choice with the swords. Him having chrome swords. He can turn his skin chrome, and he can keep going forward, fighting the Foot, and staying as a Ninja Turtle, whereas it looks like Mikey and Donnie have moved away from doing that. Again, with Donnie having poor eyesight, he's going to be like the guy in the chair that doesn't really fight unless he has to, and then Mikey just leaving completely, just going to blend in with the humans. Leo still being the leader and a solid fighter, getting indestructible skin is still pretty cool. He's always the one that's wanted to go forward, and move on, and keep leading, being a ninja, being stealthy. Having shiny skin isn't being stealthy, I will give that. It is pretty obvious that he's there. You do have a pretty nice shine to you, but I do like his new design. I think it looks cool. Moving on to Splinter, they did want to make him a bigger part of the franchise, make him more useful, make him used more, just sort of use the sort of characters that they have, you know? Instead of making new ones, just use the characters that they already have, make them more involved with the story, more involved with the fighting, and that's what they did here. Splinter could turn into this big monster. He could, like, basically Hulk out, and turn into this big rat creature, like a big mutant rat creature, which is very similar to Raph's new power, which they were going to call Raptor Raph, where he could Hulk out as well and turn into this big, like, raptor-type creature. So Splinter and Raph have more in common than you actually think in this movie, and it would have been nice to see them have, like, a bond grow, because we don't really see him and Raph have that much of a bond. It's normally Splinter's talking to Donnie or Leo. We never see the bond grow between those two. And Raph looks absolutely fucking diabolical here. He looks so disgusting and gross. Look at how big his claws are and how big his teeth are. Again, like Splinter going into this big sort of like Hulk monster rage mode. And that does fit Raph's personality. They obviously took sort of inspiration from werewolves and Hulk for this, where their rage get too big and too built up that you just have this monster inside of you. And having that for Raph just fits so well. It looks fucking menacing. It's just with these concept arts and these sort of more powerful sort of powers that they have, it sort of moves away from the core aspect of the Turtles and how the Turtles actually are supposed to be ninjas. They're supposed to be discreet. They're not supposed to have these big, powerful powers which can sort of change them and make them more werewolf-like and stuff like that. So I do understand why they didn't continue with it. Maybe it got too over the top. Maybe they didn't have the budget for it. The third movie did bomb, like, severely when they went time traveling. So I do understand why they would have cut budgets and maybe scrapped this one, because the third movie did terribly. And it just didn't do as well. And they put a lot more effort into that one with the animatronic mouths, making it move as they spoke, instead of it just being a rubber helmet. And we have seen them have these, like, powers before, or not these powers, but some sort of power with the rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They got some mystical power there, and that show didn't do well either. So it's obviously proven that the Turtles and powers don't really mix. Making them into superheroes and, like, powerful beings don't really work. And especially for the time of that film being made, I think it would be completely possible to do it now. Even back in 2010, I think it would have been possible. I just don't think it would have been possible in the 1990s to make that vision come true unless they did it in an animated format. Just the suits and the CGI and the budget didn't really fit for it, but I do think it would have been cool to see it, because I love those films. I love all three of them. And it would be nice if they did actually finish this. And I've seen a lot of people advocate and talk about this more and kind of want to see it, because I also want to see it. There is scripts out there, but we don't have access to them. But more and more of this film has been leaked and sort of shown online by the creators and just sort of put out there for the internet to look at. And I like that. I like it when cancelled films put all the stuff that they have on that film out there. And it's just nice to see how people take it, to see if they will pick it up again because of fans wanting it and loving it. So now that we're getting more and more information about this film, maybe we will get to see it. Maybe one day it will come out. Or maybe it'll be adapted to fit the new generation of Turtles. And I think that'll be really cool.